Hello, everybody. We'll let people log on and I'll see how it goes for a Friday night. This is kind of not a really good day to do it. Friday nights are never really super popular online, so I do want to go see my girls after I finish my live forum tomorrow. So that's what I want to do. I know that it's been an extremely long week for this guy. I've been literally all over the world in some real powerful minds. I see people are starting to pop in. It's not showing me who yet, but there's Curtis. How we doing, Curtis? Yeah, people are starting to come in. Some numbers coming up. Might be quiet. It's Friday night, but it's coming in. So I want to talk Trudeau. I made a post a couple days ago. It kind of took off, and you see the frustration for Canadians, and especially here for Albertans. And I want to talk about that. The things that we have to look at here, they're absolutely going to be critical issues. Actually, numbers are coming in a little bit, not too bad. So everybody, we're sitting here with a Canada really that's absolutely under thumb of Justin Trudeau. He's done order of councils, forced legislation in the parliament federally to absolutely change our election laws. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that. I did a post, over a month ago now, where he pulled an order in council, which means he picks a set of ministers any time in Canadian history, if they're alive today, to draft legislation absolutely amending our federal system. And so for all of you, what that system is, if you don't know, he's having 3 voting days now, absolutely mail-in ballots. He's going 3 times as much as what USA had just went through in the election process, meaning when we have an election now, it's probably going to take 5-6 days before we even know who's what officially in any given riding. I believe absolutely that is to absolutely lead to an established liberal regime for the forever foreseeable future. And why I say that is because all of his policies, what he's doing with this country, which isn't really democratic at all, and that is colonial power leftover that he uses. He puts a crown on his head. Any politician can do it if we elect them in federally in any kind of majority. Even though he's sitting at minority right now, the guy's capable with the bolster of NDP or Bloc, if you should swing that way. But traditionally we see Conservatives and Bloc always coming together, but it's for the benefit of Quebec. It's never, ever for the benefit of anybody Western. And it's kind of the same version with NDP and Liberal for the Atlantic provinces, absolutely turning everybody else into a welfare province or welfare territory. And that's what they do. They centralize, they suck the life juice out of all the surrounding regions. And when you talk about opposition or government in power, it's all a matter of who's giving more to Quebec at everybody else's expense, or who's centralizing for Ontario and the major municipalities at everybody's expense. So they will achieve those ends through globalist ties, whether that's for the Conservatives, or they will achieve those ends absolutely with liberal, bolstered by NDP, socialist designs, which are also globalist too. Doesn't matter which one you really predict or vote for, this is what you're going to get. Doesn't matter if you believe in capitalism, if you're a business owner, you think as a domestic somehow the conservative variable is going to work better for you, but that's absolutely ultimately turning out to be completely wrong, and you're all learning that. We know from working class, the families, the average Joe Janes, you're all seeing a tremendous downslide from the socialist side under Justin Trudeau. So we have definite big problems here. So this today is all about Q&A. I usually don't do those, but I was wearing my glasses for a lot of my presentations. I got a good distance here for my version of 2020 with my implants. So I can see everybody. So if you have comments or questions, now is the time, and I will go through them, no matter what those are and what your feelings are, how you think things are going forward. That's what I want to see. So I should scroll, maybe I'll see. There's so many of you, but need to get someone elected. That's what Clint Kelly says. Yeah, that's the issue, but Clint, I think with the direction of the federal government, the issue here is who do we get elected and how do we go about doing that when that centralized power is absolutely in Ontario and Quebec? And whoever we do elect everybody, whether that's conservative in a minority or majority or liberal in a minority majority, either way it isn't really going to help us, I don't believe. And why I say that is because they will ultimately sell out the surrounding provinces and territories to fill the needs of whoever can keep them in power. And that is, do I cater to Quebec or do I cater to Ontario? That's because of our electoral system. And yes, Michael, I agree. We have to separate. Alberta must separate. It would be great if other provinces followed that lead and we could establish that each and every province and then regroup upon that time. I'm out on the global world stage right now, everybody. Absolutely in an entire week, literally 12 to 16 hour days. I get up 4 or 5 a.m. today. I got to sleep in. It was 6 a.m. start, my time. And of course, I went just here till 7:30. So that's a short day. That was a 13 and a half hour day. My day 1 and 2 were 16 hours. But I get to meet policy developers, real ones from many countries throughout the world. Countries, there's no way ever that I would have ever been able to have a sitting for 1 hour in a group situation like that. So everybody knows I don't just piss off you, my followers and friends. I piss them off too. I'm starting to come to the realization that as I explore the academic world and I take so much information, a lot of the friends, Boilermaker friends and welder friends I have who know me say that guy's got just a ton of useless information. But this week that useless information paid off, but I sure pissed off a lot of aspiring doctorates or people in some pretty substantial fields in other countries. And it's unfortunate, I don't mean to do that, but I don't like it if an academic's out there and I know they're touring around or they're teaching students this stuff and they're going and it's wrong. It's clearly wrong. And I can just snap off statistical information that's real, historical information, both legally or in precedent or world law or treaty or economics, and then they don't like it, right? I get, man, like I had a couple ladies here and two of them I really enjoy a lot of what they say. I just was, you got to correct them. Like, it's like me if I say, the sky's right now outside, it's dark black, it's evening, but I'm like, well, look at the blue sky. You're going to say, hey, guy, Dave, that's not blue, man. Like, you're colorblind. It's not to be mean. It's just to point out that that's not a fact. But, and I like the leading scholars that get to be, what do they call it? They regulate the room or whatever, and they're there, and they're kind of, they're the smartest. So, they're like, giving them shit, right? Those ladies didn't like it, but maybe shaving the head didn't help either. And then they Google my name. They're like, he's a racist, womanizing pervert. And it's like, it's not true, right? And then you get the other flip side of it, where it's like, people say judging people, but then here they are judging me too, right? A little bit of that. So it's frustrating, right? It's like, just take it as it is. And if I'm wrong, point it out. Say, hey, buddy, you're absolutely wrong. But if I'm right, like, at least just say, hey, yeah, I didn't look at that. Oh, it's something I missed. Like, and it is important. Like, I had one expert in BC here early this morning, a big fight too. Like, kind of not, it was a great day, don't get me wrong. I had a leading scholar. I have so much to share with all of you. I'm going to do, not to get off topic, but I'm going to get into a slide presentation for all of you, exactly what I've learned how that's going to strengthen Canada should we look at dismemberment, as well as, for me, Alberta independence. And it's absolutely imperative for everybody to get that. But just to show everybody, this is just day 4. I have one more day left to go. And here's my notes. Look at that. And a lot of it's front and back. If you can't see, like I got, like there's probably 60 pages here. This is thick, you know. Like I know it's hard to kind of see there, but it's like 60 pages and then more stacked underneath. And I'll put it to you this way: I had 100 sheets of paper. This is all I got left, about maybe a little under 20 sheets. But and then I have screenshots, probably close to 1,000 screenshots. I can't share because it's freedom of information. People are asking that. I'll put it together. Plus, I have to email each one out, which now I probably have close to 400 email contacts. But I have to say, hey, your presentation, I got the whole thing. I'd like to share it out publicly. Could I use this? So it's going to take me a while, probably weeks, not only going through just these notes, which are very important each and every session that came out clearly for Alberta or Canada, things Canadians need to know, average citizens. Some of the things I was able to get through to other scholars, and like these are world experts, at least probably 70 people that have been on this are world credited experts in their field. I have exciting news for a new book that just came out on succession, the Quebec referendum, plus Spain, and it's done by the absolute 4 world scholars, which is Italy and 2 other countries. They're just, it's unbelievable. They're going to give me the book for free. Isn't that something else? Personally, and I have the screenshot showing, and I'm in there. You see my face, and we were talking. Then you see the scholar holding up the book, and the other one doing this. But I have to get permission if they'll allow that. Plus, I have to say these guys don't support Alberta succession. Probably have to tag them, make a disclosure. But I think they're going to be okay as long as I really highlight that, because they don't want, you know, oh, look, this Alberta separatist has all these legal experts helping them. And it's not that. I'm standing on an academic forum proving myself, and as long as I'm staying legal and constitutional, sure, they're going to share information, and sure, maybe they are helping me a little bit. They just don't agree with my independence approach. But if they're going to learn something too, if they're going to have something right now in the real world that's practical, it's living, it's real, they're going to eat it up. And you know, a bunch of them who taking a little shine to me, especially the United States of America. That's important, right? USA, China's kind of moved, Taiwan for sure. There was a whole bunch of foreign Soviet countries taking a real shine to me. So it's not all bad. Oh, Africa's really exciting, but it pisses other nations off too. And it's so hard to juggle it all, everybody, and you wouldn't believe it, and how easily offended people can get. You know, it's you can't you know, like I've been beat down so bad on social media and politics, I lose sight of that. You know, I think, oh, nothing's really offensive. You get a leather thick skin, like I'm like Iron Man now. Like people say stuff, and to me it's like, oh well, who cares? You know, like water off a duck's back. And I realize for you and academics now and everybody's very much more sensitive to me, and maybe I've gotten a little too hard and I have to soften up. That's why I want to go forward and do tours, but I'm going to need Marilyn Burns with me. I'm going to have that. I'll set it all up, try to take the weight off her shoulders of the organizing of it, but she'll have to be that softer side, because it's just, you go through this path and you do get hardened. You have to get hardened, and it's hard for me to go back. Everybody just accept that. It's not like I can just revert back and forth. And I know people try to say, Dave, don't be such an asshole. Basically, it's like, it's kind of hard not to be. You just get conditioned. You just get, as the years go by, you get conditioned that way. You have to be. and I can't change back. I can't deviate, but I'm going to try to be a little bit better. Yeah, to get their book, Maggie says, how nice. Can you send me a friend request? Sure, Thomas Tyler, I see what... It all depends. Like, if it's an academic, I will, but if I don't know who you are and I can't establish anything, I'm not going to send you a friend request. I actually, my following, whatever Facebook, I've probably deleted thousands and thousands. I don't mean just the fake profiles. Like, I'm really trying to stay focused on who I invite into my Facebook world now. And like, I leave my Facebook public and you can follow me, anybody can. But who I invite and who gets notifications, I've been very, very super ultra picky now, because I don't want radical ideas or things that steer from the credible legal path. And it's something I have to be very conscious of. And obviously, Albertans, I'm always going to take you. And, sometimes I get pissy and I delete people, but, I got to keep it focused on what I'm trying to do. And if people don't like that, too bad, I guess. You could never beat our current leader in the asshole department. No, that's true. That's true, Harlan. It's tough. Like I said, Trudeau's so bad. Jason Kenney's so bad. There's so much, you guys. I've learned in this week highlights of these colonial powers from other countries. I'm happy I've got it out there. And what's best is those high scholars to actually take some credibility from me and give me that credibility. I have several who are going to stay in touch, which is the remarkable part, which is the exciting part. And I'm happy with that. For all the people I pissed off, or early scholars or doctorates that I'll probably never be welcome in their faculty of law, and I'd probably be, I won't travel anyway, let's be real, but, it's unfortunate, but, I look at it, you break a few eggs to make an omelet, I guess, and it's like, the ones that are important is what we got, and that's going to be exciting. That's what I'll roll out, So let's see, do we have questions? Now this froze up on me. Oh no, there we go. Scrolling down. I see there is some. I just want people to ask about things they want to know about. Not bad, sick of masks to enter everywhere. Yeah, Curtis, the mask stuff, it's annoying. Like, just get through this pandemic crap, but it's obvious they want to use this. It's the socialist or globalist reset, the whole pandemic thing. Immigration isn't following any of it, just so you all know. I never lied about that. It's all published clearly on the federal government's website. Jason Kenney's established it in legislation. They're bolstering everything Trudeau's doing. That's where, for everybody, the Harper government former ramped up the immigration. It was from 77,000, it variated. It went to literally 250,000 under Harper. So we're 3.5 times the size anything Canada had ever seen. Trudeau from there, when we look at what he is now, he's 5.5 times. So, I mean, it's still, all of it's bad in these kind of unemployment numbers. People didn't feel the effects of Stephen Harper until we hit that 2009, and it was slowly going. But you hit a level where everyone sees it. Harper tossed out, but then Trudeau in, and he's like expanded it. So we're realizing the effects of everything over a period. It's just a period after, right? Like cause, but the effects over here, right? So as we get through just Harper's term, we haven't even felt the full effects of the last 4 years of Trudeau. By the time we feel him, he will have already implemented another 4 years, because that's generally cause and effect period. Everybody realize that. Cause, effect over here. Cause of a 4-year change here takes all these years to fully be implemented, and we experience it. So we're just coming into what Trudeau did 4 years ago, let alone what he's done now. In another 4 years, it's going to be such a cry out. I would think he would be tossed, but you look at it, he'll already have served at that point 9, 10 years, maybe 12 years if he slides in another term. But the damage will be so devastating. And the borrowing that we're going to experience starting this year into the next 3 years won't fully be felt until 4 years after that. And again, the money's spent, gone in globalist hands, socialist foreign hands, that we the people it'll be too late. 2030 will be realized long before 2030. It's truly what I believe. I see it economically. I did want to take this point. I'm going to go back to questions. There's another team, and I want to talk to Marilyn Burns about this. Handsome economist. He's way handsomer than me. He's from Australia. And then they got like a Marilyn Burns version of a lawyer from the United Kingdom, and they're doing a global tour, not regional like I want to do with Marilyn Burns for Alberta. They're doing a global tour, and they were there to present. They have my economics broken down, the Bloomberg stuff, land rights, property rights, what's happening. They have up to the 2016. They're getting into the 2020. So we've made a contact. We have each other's emails. I have their entire presentation screenshotted. I'm going to ask if I'm going to email them like in the coming weeks. Build that for you all, slide by slide. And you'll see the pictures of me in there going back and forth with them. But you're going to see their presentation. If they allow me to publish that publicly, I have to get permission. If they do, you guys are going to see a beautiful, beautiful presentation by the people fighting back against Kanzik, a New Zealander and an Australian economist and a lawyer teamed up, doing the same fight that I would like to be doing here coming shortly with Marilyn Burns for Alberta. But they're doing it for a world presentation highlighting Australia and New Zealand. So impressive, and they've done tremendous work. They got hammered really hard. A lot of world academics and scholars are saying, you can't, prove those facts. This doesn't belong here. It belongs on a political stage. So I am going to take their presentation. I did get their permission to go to Alberta Poly, to go to Alberta News, which I don't think they'll present it anyway. But I'm going to cut that up, put it together, and I'm going to ask Alberta Poly to let it go. I'm going to send it to all of our polling companies, so all of them, and say, hey, here's polling data from Australia, United Kingdom, backs up everything I'm talking about. These are two legitimate world academics in their countries. Here's their presentation. Here's my presentation. Here's Bloomberg's. Here's the World Trade Organization. Here's statistical facts. Now, they've polled. Here's the list of polling companies. There's their presentation. Now can we start moving forward? Now can media look at this? Is it done academically? No, but it was polled by the people in those regions, by legitimate polling companies. Same companies we have here. Were they done at the minimum 2,000? No, it's kind of like Western Standard stuff, some of it, but there are some that are in the right standard where all regions represented in the country evenly according to population per capita, and they hit the minimum numbers to be a legitimate poll. So those ones should go forward, and the answers that come from that, everybody, are truly remarkable. It backs up a lot of what I'm saying. I don't feel so lonely, and I definitely want to have this together, share this with Marilyn, and show the dynamic duo when you get a lawyer and an economist together, presenting together. And that's really what I want to, the free gift for Alberta. And, I could never afford polling companies, so I will. There is one union, actually, believe it or not, and it's not even really a union that's very well represented in Alberta. However, in Canada, they're very, very strong. I'm going to go to them and ask them if they'll sponsor me in Maryland in polling for some of the stuff we work on coming forward in Alberta. There's money there, and yes, it would be union member paying dues right across Canada that would likely have to fund that. So then there's permissions. It may take some time, and I don't know if they'd want to do our narrative anyway, but it's more about truth. But I don't know who else to ask, everybody. That's to win that kind of poll done by a legitimate polling company to match the United Kingdom and Australian who did the poll. And it gets into property rights, real economics. Ask all of you when presented with this kind of presentation, how would you all feel about it? Evenly dispersed in the region at the minimum standards. I believe it costs about $8,000. I couldn't come up with that money. The government's definitely not going to fund that. That's UCP, NDP, Liberal, Alberta Party. They will never, because of their federal ties, they'll never sanction that. So I'll have to go to the unions. I'm going to have to. And then I don't know, they might say no. This one union might say no. But I'll ask. All we can do is ask. Going to look at more comments here. Get back to... Hi, Dave. Tell us what you think the solution is. Harlan, I think the solution, like I said, is independence for Alberta ultimately. But we need a constitution. We absolutely need world experts, which that's what this was this week. I have another world forum again that's going to even have more experts coming in about 3 months, I believe. It's coming in February or March. And you know what? I might even try to get in there to present. If I build my own slide for Alberta, talking about colonialism, the issues of Canada, and First Nations. I'm going to do maybe two. One on First Nations as it is, because I had a big fight, everybody, with a British Columbian expert from the University of British Columbia. And I mean, I made her mouth hit the floor. I really pissed her off. But she pissed me off. And, you know, for everybody, when you give a presentation out on a world stage, world legal academics, it's going to be published. American scholars look at that. Sometimes they look at it, well, they settled the American Indian. They don't look at Canada, First Nations as, oh, they hear treaties. They don't realize the province of BC is unceded, unsettled. They have 0 treaties for almost 70% of it. And all their bullshit narratives they give screwing Alberta over in trans trade, they talk about First Nations. First Nations don't even know that a treaty in Alberta, what's happened, where claims have been absolutely thrown away in British Columbia. British Columbia, the name of it tells you everything. British Columbia. We eradicated First Nations all the way from the island and coast, most of them, all the way out. They had to run away to Alberta. That's why we have treaties here, because they held out. There was no war. They were eradicated, slaughtered out of BC. And when BC people and experts are talking about Indigenous rights, they're, well, what do you know about Indigenous rights? And you start talking treaty, even though 70% of your province has never even attempted to settle any claims, let alone establish treaties. You're the worst human rights violators in the West. British Columbian government and academics are, especially when they talk about it. And it's hard for me not to get pissed off when you're putting a blanket statement over all of Canada when BC is nothing like Alberta. You don't have any treaty lands at all, hardly, just northeastern BC. And of course it has all the ties to Alberta because it's the overlapped treaty based in Alberta, northern Saskatchewan and northern BC. That's the only one. And a little bit of Treaty 6, but entirely Alberta, entirely. Alberta settled all their Métis claims. We need to work on settling the First Nation claims. It has to absolutely be done. Nobody in academia from Canada goes out and explains that. American academics have no idea, but I did move the needle. I did move the needle, and I got a little bit of recognition there, and I did move Africa, especially in Indigenous rights, and I did get to highlight UNDRIP as it is, as it's total BS, and it absolutely is to hide colonial abuse, to hide absolute human rights violations that need to be addressed, and people don't want to realize that. But you're not getting away, Canada. You're not going to get away or leave it to Albertans or paint us as the heavy racists when independence would address that, which is how we will absolutely get independence. And Africa is leading on this. India's done a lot of work on this, even though they still don't want to address colonialism all the way. They like that crown power too, their executive. Let's see what else we got here. Will you be coming to Calgary to speak? Yes, I will. Well, if me and Marilyn can organize it every week, it will be towns, cities, municipalities. I'll try. Obviously, Calgary is going to be multi. In fact, Calgary would be all of its ridings. So it won't just be the city of Calgary. It'll be all the constituencies of Calgary individually. So I will name the communities. I would advertise that Zoom meeting in all the constituency offices, right? Wards. When you get into the city municipality itself, I'll break it down into wards and communities for sure. Great question. Same with Edmonton too, by the way. Red Deer. Red Deer is not as detailed and defined, obviously, as Edmonton and Calgary, but very important to hit those cities and break them down into wards and constituencies. But it may even, if I can, and we have that time on Zoom, I would do each and every community, absolutely. Address closet, federalist, and separation movement. Yeah, Ron Lacombe, he hits a very big issue here. Federalism. I'm just going to expand it a bit into the week I just had. Federalism is problematic throughout every colonial government. Now that's Spanish, like South America, through all kinds of island states throughout the world right now, whether they're still a territory or of that UN state, or they're independent but they have colonialism embedded in their constitutions that absolutely promote federalism. And it's really about power and control here, everybody. It's really about the power of the few over so many of you, which limits all your rights and freedoms. It absolutely removes true justice, and it weakens your court systems. And I know we all sit there, and I've done it too, that dirty bumfuck judge, and I'm sorry to swear, but I do that more for all of you, the average Albertan, and it's not, because I am one too, and it's, you get mad, that judge screwed me over, that judge. And then as I'm learning this from world academics, and I start going back reading cases, I learn the judge even discloses to you, I'm sorry, I can't help you, or I'm sorry, it's not my authority, because he's already been, or she has been restricted in being able to make a judgment for you, even though they'd absolutely like to, or the way they're going to hear your case, or what they determine you're allowed to present to go against or set a precedent. And you're not able to do it because they've been armbarred, they've been restricted. There's a colonial executive power, we call it, whether that's a Justin Trudeau or Jason Kenney, hiding with their governor general or lieutenant governor and empowering the, what is it called? Auditor general? No. What is the legal term for that? Auditor? There's something anyway. We only have one. And it's for all legal. And this is what takes away from our justice system. Not just ours. This is absolutely an issue globally for all colonials. All. Worst is the UK ones. Next is France and Spain. And there's a few others. USA not so much. USA doesn't even understand this concept. Russia, not really at all. They don't understand the concept except for what they see. And then we have Cold War on top of that. The big battle of USA and Russia post-1952. Its effect on all those colonial, post-colonial states, I call them, that either went independent but have embedded colonialism, which is worse. The worst thing we could do, Albertans, is separate, adopting that federalist power. And sorry, Ron, I've run away here off topic. Addressing, this is what I mean by addressing the federalism. We can't separate Alberta and take that kind of power with us. which is what India has done. India absolutely did that. They absolutely have brought that federalism in their independence. They're independent, but they're totally constitutionally embedded with old colonial powers. And that is terrible. That is the worst kind of independence you can get. Africa is in massive revolution over all this stuff, as well as the federalist power of Russia and the fight of the USA. But really, half of the the African countries that have independent status that want it are absolutely half of them total colonial embedded parliamentaries, absolutely unable to get rid of it now because it takes a lot of constitutional amendment. They're kind of stuck like Canada with no crown, but they put the crown power in. Nothing to do with the UK. It's the sickness. It's a sickness. This is the federalism. We cannot absolutely take Ron Lacombe with us and all Albertans. We can't take that with us. It has to be highlighted, which is something I want to do over this year with Marilyn Burns, going around highlighting that. These are major world problems for many countries that have led them, are you ready for this? To one-party states or full autocracy dictatorships, bolstering civil law, because that imperialist pressure of having so much authority in the hands of 5 people ultimately leads to one party every time. We're seeing that right now with CPC and Liberal. They're getting closer and closer to absolutely just merging parties, which is ultimately what Canada was defined on. Liberal conservative or liberal. Extreme left or central left. Not good. A globalist narrative, but definitely a class structure of we the few and you the filthy peasant many. Third class. Couple second class, but you're never going to be first, but you're allowed to ascend into what we will let be called second class, serving the needs, keeping us, the first class, going. That's the problem with federalism in Canada, tied to that colonialism. And that federalist, we can never let come with us for separation. And yes, there's absolutely federalists inside independence movements and groups that won't let that go. And they're there absolutely to destroy us because they have a delusional sense of how the world works. And to highlight a little more on that, Ron, and everybody watching, there were 2 cases. I just had a huge blowout with 2 doctorates who hate my guts now, but they brought 2 cases forward, and this is where this is going to make sense, I hope, to everybody. So Argentina, 1949, absolutely tried to outlaw communism. You can all say, hey, great. Not only outlaw that, they didn't want unions, didn't want all this stuff. Australia too. They wanted a whole new system post-1948. Unfortunately, USA, UK, France, Russia, and USA all agreed for China, given that permanent status. Those 5 agreed together. Russia at the time was communist. China was communist at the time. They would embed those rights. Now, Australia has no Charter of Rights and Freedoms like Canada. No Bill of Rights. Did you all know that? They suffer worse than Canadians. There's no codified charter, even though we only have an 8-page constitution on Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is like a joke. USA, many, many pages, and that's way older. And then you look at state constitutions, hundreds and hundreds of pages, really clearly defined. Not Canada. We're very limited. Acts of legislature can be changed anytime. But Australia didn't have any of those rights, so the government tried to throw away all your rights in 1949. Tried to throw it all away. They were going to go full autocrat post-UN. That federalists using the federal power of the new imperialism embedded in their state, and they were going to rebel. Well, guess what? The courts, their own courts, went against them. Both in Argentina, which was Spanish imperialism, colonialism, and in Australia, UK imperialism, colonialism. And guess what happened? Their own courts rebelled against the executive, because guess what would happen? You would lose UN nation status, meaning you wouldn't be a UN nation anymore and any government could take you over. That's ultimately what would happen. This is a narrative we have to get out. We can't let these federalists trying to promote this stuff going forward in any kind of independence because it will cost us nation status. If you lose nation status, Canada's the least of your problems. Imagine China, Russia, and USA, even USA, ripping into us, taking what they want, and leaving you as all filthy beggars, basically left to the wind, and there's nothing you can do about it, stripping pieces and resources and lands from you, and giving you no human rights whatsoever, making your world very, very much worse. You would be in revolution like Africa, and this is real, you guys. It's real. Everyone who's ever tried to rebel against that system or try to make their own colonial power or their own version of the world has absolutely been decimated. And nobody can fight back because those powers don't want to give up their ultimate authority and power over the entire world. They control the supply chains, value chains, trade treaties, and they fight each other. But if we want sovereignty, true sovereignty, we have to push all those narratives away. Learn from India. Learn from the African nations who are actually leading edge right now. They're creating this Pan-Africa, who are getting through it. They're halfway through. Is it violent for them? Yes. Is there all kinds of UN powers of that UNSC in there at all times throughout Africa, and it's devastating? Yes, but they're fighting their way through it for a new evolution. And yes, maybe it's through a revolutionary locally, but that's what's happening. That's not what we want in Alberta. We want to do this smoothly, easy transition. Learn from these world examples. Let world countries see us for what we are, that we're not dumb. And in fact, we will bring in experts from all these countries and explain step by step. And then we'll let the world look at it and say, there you go, Russia. There you go, China. There you go, USA. There you go, UK. All five of them, right? There you go. We've shown you exactly in clear articulation that we're not going to try and violate your rules. We're going to let you have your power. We just want that gift of sovereignty. You don't have to respect our ideals, our system, or our people's culture. You don't have to adopt it, but you have to let us have it, as was your design, and that we understand it very well. And that's all we want, a fair shake. We just want to be able to be self-determined, not crippled by everybody, and we just want to play on your world stage as we are. That means not falling for false narratives, false realities that we're absolutely not going to be able to implement. Nobody in the world ever has, and they still struggle today with it. Like Catalonia, the Catalanese in Spain, Italy, they didn't get independence in 2017. They tried to buck the system. Even though international courts said it's okay, what you did was lawful like other states, the UNSC said no, we're the judges, we're the jury, the international court is owned by us. While they ruled, we have what's called veto, any one of us or all of us. But it only takes one of those to say, nope, here's my veto, I'm judging it illegal. And guess what happened? It's illegal. Every state's gone through it. Don't buck the five. Get their permission, go forward. Don't adopt federalist powers that try to usurp their authority in this world. You just can't win. And I don't want to take on Russia, China, USA, UK, and France. I don't. I just want to see Alberta self-determined, First Nations self-determined, do what's right, get it done, and let people live their life. And codify a constitution. Codify a constitution protecting all those rights. Let us have all the things we want. Being able to trade as a UN landlocked nation, following international laws that absolutely are going to strengthen us, not weaken us like everybody tries to say. There's so many that think they know the world, even experts, that, you know what, I got to move that needle. I've had 4 days, and I absolutely have moved a needle. It may not be a big movement, but any movement's better than no movement at all. Any little voice is better than not having that voice out there. And you know what I hope? Many, many world recognized academics from all over now are going to add this into their great works coming forward. And they're going to say, hey, you know what? We missed this. And thank God we let some guy from a trailer park in Alberta come in, regardless of how everybody views him, whether they think he's a scumbag or not. I got to add to their academic understanding. I got to turn on a light, maybe a little light in a Christmas tree of lights, but it's there, and it's going to be there forever. I hope. I think it will be. And you know, it's going to change the world? No, but it's going to move the needle. What else we got here? What is there a mainstream party advocating for independence? How do you propose we get from here to there mainstream? Education, Stu. Absolutely education. I think I need to do this weekly, 1 hour a week with Marilyn Burns. Obviously, she's going to be really busy, and I know that. But I gotta steal a week from her every week. I'll have to do all the work, the organizing, put it on, prep her. But I absolutely need her with me. I need a lawyer, an Alberta lawyer with me. So I have to do that. I have to do that community by community, town by town, area by area. All of them. Break down the cities, the major municipalities, all of them. Have to do them all. It's going to take a year. Have to educate and hopefully let everybody take that free presentation. Have a file download. They get to do it live and a little Q&A, just an hour a week in a new community every week, and see how far we can go. That's what I believe has to be done. We have to get on building a constitution, which I need Marilyn to present and articulate all that. I will back her up, and I absolutely, everybody, will bring the greatest minds in the world to absolutely assist us. I will do that to make sure we stay legal, lawful, stay on the money, and we don't fall into the pitfalls that so many, many nations have and struggle today. I can tell you, I just was in with South Korea academic, the great, great strides they made forward for the people. Everybody has their little pieces. If you take all the greatest things, every country's done something great. Even autocrats, it's funny, or socialists. There's something in their constitution that evolved past everybody else. Even though they got all these flaws, there was something, a little piece, and hey, the people would love that. Or hey, that cultural piece, ooh, that's something that's not even seen in this world, and it lasts, it's strong, it empowers the people. These are the things we got to bring together, and we need so many around the world, not to impose it on you, but to present it to you and say, hey, look at this little treasure, what do you all think of that? And somebody of credibility presenting that to you, why, the pitfalls, backed up in data, just so average people go, hey, cool. And that's what it's about. Education. And that's how we'll get to a mainstream party, because Curtis Clack puts in ombudsman. That came out in World Academic too. Ombudsman for accountability. Many levels of it. There's other terms in ombudsman, but USA, like the state of Texas, for example, they go way beyond the ombudsman, even though that's there, and they have other levels throughout their system, and they articulate that in their constitution, a written governance, so that even any idiot can get elected, and you won't have an MLA like what UCP produced for Slave Lake. It's a nice, written, articulate form with powers like an ombudsman that's there for accountability, and just walk up, and that dummy elected official doesn't have to be smart, because all these people are in place to keep them accountable throughout. And that's what's important. Like the state of Texas, they have a list of similar named government positions like our crown. However, they're not even the same. They're same names, but the way they're set up and the way they're defined are completely different. It's grapes and watermelons, right? Or grapes and squash, whatever you want to call the analogy. Even though they're named the same, they're fruits, they're defined ultimately entirely different. There's accountability, like Texas, for example, and other states in this Texas side, the state constitution, where they give this accountability throughout and these defined positions vertically in governance so that every step of the way, one of these positions makes accountability for somebody going through that process. And it's very well articulated throughout their constitution. Something that's foreign to Canadians, foreign to absolutely every Albertan, every citizen of Canada, every territory. Nobody understands this. We're like little babies on it. It's a foreign concept. Works well. You'd think that, but we haven't evolved in Canada. We won't evolve because our system isn't there. That's why we have to separate. But we have to realize all of these things better be there for all Albertans so that they have it. And that's why this year of touring and education has to have the constitutional aspect. I need Marilyn Burns beside me for that 1 hour a week as a lawyer going through this stuff, and I'll organize it for her. I'll present, and she just has to have that legal authority to go forward because nobody's going to listen to an economist with no legal profession, and I need that. We have to be a team. Just like with that UK, and just like she'll need the economics. She'll need that. She won't be able to talk about that stuff. She'll need the backup. She'll need that. So that's what we have to do. What we got here? So Dave, it's the only going to include Alberta. Is there going to be other provinces like Saskatchewan, Manitoba, possibly BC? Laura Kinner, great question. What it is those provinces have to do it all on their own. And the reason why I've never done a Western narrative, First Nations have to be addressed, and not any one province is the same on that issue. I just kind of highlighted that before if you had missed it, Laura. First Nations in BC aren't ceded. 70% of it is outstanding. There's serious issues there that will never, ever be a part of the Alberta narrative. That's BC all on its own. We can't even combine that. And it's not fair to ask First Nations, and First Nations need to understand this stuff too. The chiefs have to have a presentation. That's why along with this, I also have to do a First Nations reserve by reserve, chief by chief presentation virtually week after week as well too. Now I don't know necessarily I need Marilyn for that if she wants to be involved, or maybe somebody else would like to be involved with that with me. Maybe someone of First Nation status and also Métis, maybe a few people that want to be in a panel like that with me. Maybe that's something we have to address. And more so too, there are provincial differences because we don't have provincial constitutions. There's provincial legislation, Laura, on the flip side, where the provinces have developed because it's been unrestricted legislative power. No codified constitutions. Very limited Bill of Rights, if a province has a Bill of Rights. Alberta does. I haven't looked for BC, but they're not the same. And we see that trade, everything else, nothing is the same. Saskatchewan and Alberta are very close. However, they have ultimate major differences too. So it's always better and easier, believe it or not, even though how hard this is, it's always easier to allow each region, territory, province to go it alone. And it's also the law in Canada. And that's also backed up internationally, but so is a Western narrative internationally. But like I said, with the gross challenges we have, the absolute colonial abuse and systemic adoptions of still colonialism, we absolutely have to go it alone as individual provinces or territories. We have to. Can we work together? Sure. Can we have a goal at the end of coming together after something like that? Post? Sure. And so everybody knows there's only one province that's capable of financially doing it right now, regardless of everything else. And that's Alberta. And you can thank the Social Credit Party for that. Aberhart, only one politician in Canadian history that absolutely did establish a crown corporate bank, regardless of how people feel about public-private. In this world today, post 1948, there is no successful nation without a public institution, a financial institution. And there's only one crown corporate bank outside the Bank of Canada, and that's the ATB in Alberta. So other provinces, you have a major, major problem there, and that's scary, scary business. Alberta can snap, post a referendum and pass an independence negotiation with Canada, instantly transferring pensions, plans, and not tearing them apart like autonomy promises. The second that you make an independent institution, a crown corporate bank, the ability to create interest rates, have your own currency, which is overnight for Alberta, literally overnight with ATB, that boom, power of ATB becomes instant. It's already institutionalized. A tremendous gift, one of the most valuable assets to independence in all of Canada. It's actually same, it's even more than that of the United States. Texas, Illinois, if they were to look at independence, they do not have crown corporate institutions. They're at a tremendous disadvantage. Tremendous. They would actually have to look to North Dakota, the only other state that absolutely still has a crown corporate bank, who absolutely is in league with Alberta at the same time before the UN. That's how they did it. They did it at a time of League of Nations, and somehow North Dakota did that against America first. They're like, North Dakota first. It's tremendous. Like the history and some things that some politicians have done in the world and in some regions is amazing. They were able to transcend time and space, international power, or absolute authoritarian power, or judicial authority power over them. And somehow with the will of the people and the love of the people, they were able to do these. And these are these little pieces, I'm telling you, that exist all over the world. You can find them in autocrats, dictators, and that's what I've been doing all week, just little piece. And by the time you're done, it's like, look at this crochet I got. Look at this crochet. And what I got screenshotted, which is even massive amounts more for all of you. Little pieces that when you put it together, what a crochet it is. Exciting. What else we got here? Yeah, I appreciate it all too, guys, and thank you. Oh, Laura asks, are you in any way involved with Dallas Hill's new constitution? No. And I've tried hard to talk to Dallas Hill. The myth is Canada people, and I get their spirit, I get all that, but they absolutely don't understand. They don't have a leg to stand on. Most of what they're presenting is absolutely going to be shot down. I've tried for years to educate, but he doesn't want to listen. And it's okay, don't listen. But you know what? There's going to come a time, which it's already happening, the legal system is going to start persecuting you. And they have to, because the world's going to say, that has to go. Just like what Donald Trump did. And I know, I don't want to get into that. I know it upsets everybody. But there comes a time when you are held accountable to your Constitution. Or, in absence of it, you're going to be held to a world authority who's going to turn around and say to your justice system and your executive, you knock those guys off. You scrub that out, or we're going to scrub you out. And that is what's happening now. And you're seeing it. I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to hurt feelings here or upset people, but there are rules. That's why I say the legal, viable path. I haven't written any constitution. I've assembled legal tidbits, but that's going to be for all of you. But I'm not going to give any Albertan anything that is going to get you in trouble, or Alberta's a nation going through that in trouble, or compromise Alberta's ability to become a nation. The goal is to make all of you so very happy with what you've designed that you could end your life knowing that your children are going to be protected for a lasting, long time, the children's future, that the world will be able to look at that, vote for your favor, allow that to happen and say, wow, they sure got it. Wow, look at Alberta. And we respect that. That is what the goal is here. Not screw the world. They don't have a say. Oh, I'm going to do whatever I want. I have all these ideologies and ideas that absolutely go against these organizations and countries, including none other than the United States of America. And when they say, we've had enough of this shit, Canada, you fix this, you scrub it out, or we're scrubbing you out. And that's what's happening. We're all seeing that with the justice system in Canada now. And you can say, oh, it's not fair, they shouldn't persecute these people. They don't have a choice, everybody. They don't have a choice. It's not juristocracy. It's absolute international authority. And if we don't listen and we keep pushing it forward, we will be rogue. And this is where that term rogue regime, not a very good term to be labeled as rogue regime. It implies military intervention globally. It implies sanctions, embargoes, and loss of international human rights for all of us. And I would never, ever do that to my fellow Albertans, let alone my children, grandchildren to come, and great-grandchildren I may never meet. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do that. That's why I renounce all of it. I get the heart of it, but it's when you start playing legal expert and you're not. It's why I'm grabbing Maryland. All you have to say to them is, how come there's no legal experts here? How come there's not one legal expert worldwide that come to your narrative? Because you're radical and you're only going to serve to hurt Canadians. You're only serving your own autocracy that is absolutely not going to fly in this world. And it's coming down on heads now. And the justice system knows. We already have some federal justices who are trying to address this to appease world powers. And I don't know what to say. There's going to be arrests eventually. That's where it comes to. Stay grounded, Dave. You betcha, Stu. Stu Mead asks, should I transfer my commercial account to ATB? Only if it strengthens your business at this time, Stu. We're not there yet. Always go by what's the best financial. I just know for myself personally, I'm very pleased to announce that even in all this, but I did pick my investments. I transferred several financial investments. I had one, which is nice because it's international. And not great money. I'll just say this publicly. It was $57,000. I'm pleased to announce, even in all this, through ATB, I turned that into a $63,000 investment just over this last year with ATB. Something I was not able to do in other financial institutions, but not bad. So, I mean, for ATB, and they allowed me to get on to what investments I wanted. So we would only get a stronger power, but if I don't want to say that for you, Stu, because I don't know yet. Unless the only reason why you would do it is if somehow it made your business stronger. Sorry. If it doesn't do that, don't do it yet because we're not in independence yet. But eventually, yeah, that will be the goal. And every Albertan will have to do that for their banks, for their personal. And that's how we're going to be able to fight back against the federal of Section 91 when we're independent. Not in autonomy like so many tell you that's a lie. That's just as bad as Myth is Canada, honestly. And that's legally true, you guys. And I hate to see politicians or would-be politicians selling you guys this stuff when they're absolutely wrong. And I can show you case after case of other nations who went through the same things thinking, we're going to do what we want, or regions. And these are even countries that went independent who said, we're going to do it this way, screw the world. And it don't work that way. And their courts were bound. They were bound, armbarred, forced to go against the executive. And guess what happened? They're gone. What do we got here? I think that's it. Oh, do you have a website? Oh, Laura asks, do you have a website where one can read and learn all the work and research? I used to, Laura. I had the AIP platform that I was instrumental in, but it hasn't been updated for many years. They're the IPA now. Mostly everything is right here on Facebook. I'm going to try and work with Marilyn Burns. I've got a membership. I guess I'll say this. I got a membership with the Alberta Advantage Party. That's all worked out. They got through their party problems. They got the party back. They're working on that. So Marilyn's very busy with that. They got a whole new registered executive. So that's good. And there's a lot of work to do there. They're not there yet. Should there be a website, if I could get policy in, and if there was some kind of place for me there, maybe, or eventually maybe I would do a website, but it's money. I'm not financially well off at all. I really am the third-class citizen, so I just operate on what social media gives me, and your best right here if you want to learn stuff and kind of check in when you want and look at videos as they come. I guess that's it for everybody. Oh, will Alberta be able to get out from under the United Nations? Actually, that's a terrific question, okay, everybody? Terrific question. No, you can never get out of the United Nations, and you don't want to. What we've all been led to believe of the United Nations is not world international binding law. We're not the only ones tricked by this. Canada, it's more of a narrative by our political parties. They've been doing this for a number of decades, going what's called rogue in the UN. Saying, you know what, World War II and the Allies, fuck you. I'm sorry to say that. We're going to take every non-binding agreement, meaning the Allies, who are the ruling judge, jury, and executioner of all international law. That's a fact. You will never find anything in this world that isn't bound by that. So, when it says non-binding, or you have those allies who have vetoed it sometime or didn't ratify it, all five together, it's called a garbage can policy. Now, UN states talking about rogue regimes, CPC, Liberal, NDP, they have the power over you through this colonial Canada, this colonial power that's supposed to not be prevalent, but it is because our constitution's so old. They take these garbage UN agreements that the Allies said, nope, not international law. You want to impose it, go ahead. It won't be world binding law, but you'll have to impose it on your own citizens. But you make sure if you impose it on your citizens, you don't violate international binding laws. So it's your country that's doing it to you. And more countries, mostly civil law socialists, are grabbing all these things, many of which are under trade embargo, sanction, and they don't get the vote. Canada, I'll put it to you this way, everybody. Canada was a founding member of the UN. For all those laughing or whatever, I don't care, but look at it, for real. Canada founded the UN. They were a founding member. They were on the Security Council for many decades. They started signing non-binding agreements. Paris Climate Accord, all these other in the garbage can UN deals. And this is what happened in the UN. Canada's influence and power. They start upsetting the binding powers, and guess what happened? Get off the Security Council. You're fired. After 6 decades, get off. You're out. Stephen Harper, get. Why? Paris Climate Accord, Agenda 2021, 2030. It goes on and on. He signed a whole pile. Big emitters, carbon tax, all these things. And the allies, many of them said, oh, so you're not going to follow our laws. You're going to take the ones we said no to. You're not with us anymore. You're going to take that law out of the garbage can, put it on your people to try and usurp us. No problem. Get off the Security Council. They try to get a vote back on. Couldn't even get majority of the UN. And the binding five said this. Hey Canada, Stephen Harper. Then Trudeau comes along, which we all just watched. Oh, I'm glorious, I'm great. Not only am I going to sign even more than Stephen Harper and CPC, I'm going to create and draft a whole bunch that the UNSC shot down. On gender, on everything, just to tear Canada post-national state. We admire China's pure dictatorship. Okay, what happened to Canada? Vote goes in. We had the absolute worst voter record for UNSC seat ever recorded by Canada, ever in the history of Canada and the UN. The lowest, meaning more countries than ever don't vote for Canada. They don't recognize Canada anymore. And the UNSC, absolutely, it didn't even go to that vote, but I can tell you the UNSC absolutely vetoed Canada anyway. Even if they had won a majority vote, which they clearly didn't. Not even close. Like I said, worse than Harper. And all of you are being tricked into believing that somehow Canada is a great country, that the UN's this evil empire. And there are bad UN states. There are bad attempts at narratives from the General Assembly and some influenced organs that are down a tier that have no say with the UNSC, who never follow them anyway. It's only when all five bind it that it becomes bound. And if they don't, guess what? You shouldn't sign it. But Canada does anyway. Now they're trying to do UNDRIP. That UNDRIP for Indigenous, guess who doesn't want that? The binding five. They've already said, no way, Jose. Canada goes, oh, we're going to make sure it happens. Same with gender rights and military and making mandatory minimums for women's service in the military. Ooh. We are never going to ever be anything in the UN of any credibility ever again. That's a fact for Canada. This is another reason for independence and establishing ourselves with a credible constitution, a credible understanding of how we move forward with the UN, because we can't replace it, everybody. And anyone telling you that is an absolute liar. I'm sorry. They're not telling you the truth. They're telling you that they're going to leave the UN, that they're going to go rogue and be in some world. All you're going to be is a Palestine. And if anyone looks at what Palestine is, that Israel, Palestine, and how well Palestine's doing, or Odessa, or Kosovo, or the list goes on and on. Not good at all. You control nothing. Your wealth is limited way down. Your rights, your freedom of movement, everything you cherish doesn't exist in any kind of equal footing or setting like anywhere in the world in those countries. And that's what would happen to Alberta. And people can keep going, oh no, don't listen to that guy, which I get a lot. But guess what? It is them who has no precedent or no recorded history to back up their claims for you. And I have absolutely case after case, after expert, after clear history. We just watched in 2017 In Italy, Catalonia, they went for unilateral declaration of independence. Many of them thrown out of the country, many of them in prison, even to this day. And they didn't hurt nobody, but they went against that. They wanted to make the world work for them. They wanted to assign themselves their own power and authority, and they found out what happens when you do. And they ultimately gave Spain the power to do anything they want to them, and not one country in this world would dare oppose those binding five powers, because they will absolutely tear your country apart. That's the truth. And I often say to people, at the end of the day, if you don't play, you say, oh, I'm not going to listen. You and what army? You're not going to take Russia. You're not going to take the USA. You're not going to take UK, France, or China. You're just not. And if those five don't jump in because they don't want to lose their power, unfortunately, that's the world. Learn to work within it. It's easy to navigate this if you do it properly. And that's what we're doing here. And I hope to articulate it very well for all of you going forward. That's why the presentations, community by community, town by town, well articulated and well presented, just 1 hour once a week. So, I wonder if I missed anything here. Let's see. Alejandro says the Conservative, Liberals, and NDP will never change their economic stand against Alberta. There's too much at stake between Canada and Saudi Arabia governments. US $440 billion is for Western Canada. Was invested by Canada on Saudi Aramco oil. The only way is for Western Canada's separation. Agreed. I don't know absolutely. I'm not saying I know absolutely the economics you're talking about or trade relationships, but I agree that those similar aspects, not just Saudi Arabia, but many, many other nations, including UK, absolutely the USA, and many, many other nations have absolutely defined that, absolutely what you're saying. And Alberta will always be under boot, especially to bolster the centralized system of Ontario and Quebec, as every other province is too. It's not just Alberta, it's every province and territory, but it's up to them to come up with that. I don't live in those regions. I have no say over those regions. So I just focus on Alberta because that's where I've lived my whole life. My family's lived here their whole life. That's my history. Original settler before it was a province. This is all I know. This is all I know. So this is where I'm at. And thank you for that, because that is true in relation to absolutely many nations. Thank you. I don't know. I'm just going to check one more. See. If you were premier, would you stick to your goals, or would you think the system perverts? The system perverts, and so does the absolute power. Everybody has to understand this. You can be the greatest guy or gal in the world with all the morality in the world. And when you walk into that stage, it absolutely corrupts. That's the fundamental design system of Canada and its provinces. You end up finding out you're handed all this power with absolutely zero accountability, and you can absolutely bed yourself with any special interest. You can become very wealthy in politics just by becoming elected. It takes a very, very special few to resist that. And it's unfortunate. It's a first-class design of the system. And all wealthy people know, foreign or domestic, mostly foreign now in this world, that, hey, pay off the politician. He ain't going to go to jail anyway. There's no accountability. There isn't going to be any constitutional reform. Everyone's lied to you. Look at recall legislation. Do you think Jason Kenney will absolutely put that in? No. No, the Crown Power will never let that happen. And also, it goes back down to the 5 registered authorities, which Jason Kenney is one of them as leader of a party. And a lot of you don't even know this system. I know you don't. Justin Trudeau and Jason Kenney have tremendous tremendous power, as all premiers of every province, and as all territorial leaders do too, and the premiers, they all have tremendous, tremendous power. So the official oppositions too. Very autocratic, very, very colonial, very first class, second class, third class, defined by the Titanic. There's only lifeboats for the first class. Second class maintains a little bit better, but they're maintaining the first class. They're keeping the third class down. Third class lives down in the boiler room. They get all the bad food, the bad air, the dust, the smoke, the dirt, bad health. And there are absolutely no lifeboats for the third class. They're going down with the ship. Think of it that way. That's how it works. So no, not in Confederation. We need a separatist platform absolutely enshrined in a party, and we need a leader coming forward who absolutely agrees to that. Because 80% of the time could be the most Jesus-loving, respected person. And once they're empowered, and that power and flood of influence comes on them, they get corrupted. It wouldn't matter, Islamist, Christian, you see it all around the world. That's what I've learned in this week. It didn't matter. They all get corrupted. Absolutely. Absolute power corrupts. And until you address it by going independent and formulating a real constitution that absolutely binds elected officials, absolutely makes them accountable, and absolutely in written record establishes positions with all kinds of accountability throughout every step of the way, codified and written in a detailed plan of governance. So any idiot walking into it, they don't have to be smart, they just have to be respected and earn the respect of the people, love of the people, can walk in there, and all the way, nothing but accountability. It's just a simple how-to list so that anyone can follow it, any Joe Jane dummy. That's what we need to have. And I don't mean to minimize politicians, but we have to stop just handing over the reins of everything and saying, go ahead, do what you're going to do to me. I promote you to first-class citizen with zero accountability. And if you don't believe me, look at that MLA. A useless tit, a user, gained a free income for all these years so far. Absolutely told everybody to fuck off. I'm not doing shit. I don't like any of you. I just proved, without a doubt, I am unaccountable. The taxpayers will pay me this absorbent money. I'll sit here and I get a free pension, all this other stuff. And Jason Kenney couldn't do anything, absolutely nothing, except for say goodbye. Because he didn't want to cancel his CA. He didn't want to do any of that or deregister it, because then he would lose his conservative power. He doesn't want to do recall because you might elect somebody else from another party. He didn't want to lose his power. So all he could do to this unaccountable official is say, you will still get your income, but you're not in our party anymore. So you get to sit there. You don't even have to live there. You don't even have to stay in the country. The government, the taxpayers are going to cut you a check, pay all your expenses, and your whole staff team to do nothing for the rest of this year and next year until the election. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. Unaccountability doesn't prove everything I've ever said. I don't know what does. But it's happened lots in history. Derek Fildebrandt was thrown out of the party. Same thing. He got his wage and his staff and his office. He even built another party, all finance funded by you, Joe Jane taxpayer, even though he was nailed. I mean, and I'm not running Derek down. There's lots of them, right? But there's been a whole history of this. There is zero accountability. And no politician, that once they get in there, they know, no, we don't want to upset this system, because we have absolute full authority over all of you while we're in office. You can't do nothing about it for the 4-year period. You'll have to vote us out. And until then, we can do everything for every special interest and absolutely do nothing for anybody. There's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, absolute corruption corrupts. Well said, Deanne. Any other questions, everybody? Let's see, what's this? Oh, God, Alexandro. Sorry, I'm going through it. Oh, oops. Oh, there's my place all tore up here. That's good. I have everything in the center of my house doing massive work here. I'm almost done though. Everything piled in the middle. It sucks, but I had to. Um, let's see here. So Richard Sinta says, "Why not a tax revolt?" Well, Richard, the problem is they have full authority to put you in jail. That's the problem with the colonial system. You could say I'm not paying my taxes, but all the business owners, and this is the other part of autonomy too, Richard. Not even as much as, let's say, tax revolt. What about autonomy? Collecting our own taxes. They will start with all the business owners. They can shut you down financially, meaning lock out all your accounts. And every single registered financial organization worldwide and in Canada and in every province will absolutely lock you out financially, starting with all businesses. There goes your payroll. There goes everything. So unless you have cash or everything else, you're done like dinner. Or you're trading goods, you're done like dinner. And no business will follow that. No business will. Because then how do they buy goods? How do they trade? How do they import, export? And the list goes on and on. How do they pay their payrolls? How do you get paid? How do we get our EI or our pensions or the impact on so many on a tax revolt, or we try to take autonomy of tax collecting, will absolutely have a majority of the population in big trouble within 30 days. And then you're the bad guy. And I promise you, retired people, business owners, employees, the working class, the unemployed on EI, anyone on government benefits are all absolutely going to revolt against you. It would only be a limited revolt or a pursuit of autonomy before it absolutely blew out like a candle. And that's the reality. And this is why it's so very important to educate people on that you can't win financially. They've secured that constitutionally. Ashmini says, "Good night. Thank you." He says, "God bless," or she says, "God blessed." Why can't do anything on a personal level? Well, you could have protests. It's something I'm planning for the next year. Sure, protest. And then we got, you talk about sheep. Yeah, and people are afraid, Richard. It's really systemic. It's not that Canadians mean to be this way, or Albertans, or every other province or territory, and worse, the First Nations. It's that it's systemically part of that system of colonialism that keeps everybody under thumb. Many of us are born into it. I'm fifth generation. My children are sixth. We're this system, right? And I'm lucky I'm Albertan, where there has been a social credit party to oppose it. There was a revolution with Saskatchewan, Alberta, and the Northwest Territory as the Northern Rebellion, the Northwest Rebellion, the Northwest Territory. We did, but people got killed, slaughtered. We've tried it legally, we've tried, but it's very limited in this constitutional Canada. It's only limited to this region we're in. A little north of us, and obviously Saskatchewan, we're the only regions that maintain any resemblance of a willingness to fight back in any kind of major percentage. And it's only northeast BC attached to Alberta, and again, and some of the central and southern, but it's the overlap of those treaty First Nations, which also overlaps Saskatchewan plus others. It's that group of treaties really and settled Albertans that really have any fight or any stomach for this. That's reality, unfortunately. The human conditioning, well said. Well, everybody, I think I'm just looking. I think I got through it all. Thanks all for tuning in. Share or not, it's up to you. It's more just a presentation I want to give. I got to do slideshows. This will take weeks to put all this together, and I want to get that out for all of you. I want to get ready with Maryland. I want to get that set up to start that undertaking. We got to tour Alberta virtually while we can, while this is free. And I have one more day today, a half day of presentations, and 2 more world recognized super academics with actual, capabilities that are proven. So I want to meet them tomorrow. One I already did, right? And everyone I meet and everyone I can somehow get to know on an interpersonal level is only going to help Alberta, everybody. It's only going to help us keeping it real, keeping it legit, and, being a world influence, a world power, a self-determined nation of Alberta. That's the goal here, with a powerful constitution that the world can absolutely respect. Thanks, everybody. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. I get to sleep in a little bit. I get to sleep until 8 a.m. Yay! Okay, bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening.